I'm Anthony Gethers.
And I'm Greg Weiss.
And we are the hosts of Case for Bass.
Hey everybody, this is Mike Guaragna, and you're watching CASE-4-BASS.
Mike's a very busy player in the area. I'm going to let him talk about that more. And if I need to, I'll jump in. But Anthony, I'm going to let you fire away with the first questions.
All right, here we go. First and foremost, welcome Mike Guaragna, like lasagna to the show. Number one.
Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here.
I think he's the hardest working man. I think he's number 2 next to James Brown.
Could be.
From what you mentioned earlier, you did 194 shows in 2023. Let's discuss that.
That's correct.
Let's discuss your format of your shows first, and then we'll talk about what Greg mentioned earlier about your father saying that my son plays bass. But was he saying it in a disappointing way, or was he saying it in a way that's a cool thing?
No, I think he was very happy I did that. I learned to play guitar first. I was about 4 or 5 years old, and I always remember listening to his jazz guitar albums. He was a big fan of people like Charlie Christian and Barney Kessel, Tal Farlow, Kenny Burrell, people like that. So that's kind of what I grew up listening to. And then as my start kind of happened as far as switching over on February 9th, 1964, seeing the Beatles on Ed Sullivan's show. And my first thought was like, ooh, I can play my guitar and girls will scream. That's what I want to do. So,
Nice.
So my first band, we had 3 guitar players, and I just, I was the youngest one in the band. I think it was only like 11 or 12, but I got kind of pointed in the direction of get a bass. So I got a bass, and I became a bass player, right in the beginning of 1965. And I think he was very happy I did that too.
Nice. Now you mentioned that you started off playing the guitar first, and I always ask this to bass players as well. I go, even though you started playing guitar, did the bass choose you, or did you find the bass eventually?
I think I was, like I said, I had to be, kind of delegated to play bass in this first band. And as soon as I started playing it, I knew what a bass player was supposed to do by listening to some of the great upright players like Ray Brown and people like that from listening to my father's records.
Nice.
So I knew what was recalled, and it's like I just kind of fell into it naturally and never really looked back. I still gig on guitar though, along with my bass gig. I gig on guitar still.
Yes, he does.
Okay.
Yeah. I would say probably 25%
of
my gigs this year. 25% of my gigs this year were on guitar.
Oh, wow, that's interesting. You're one of the few bass players that we've talked to that still gigs while playing the instrument. Like it's almost like you're by musical instrument. Like you're not bisexual. You're like the by guitar, guitar and bass.
By instrumental.
By instrumental.
Yeah.
Yes. That's going to be our
guitar and the bass do go hand in hand if you went from guitar first. But it's how you apply your your energies to focus on bass as opposed to blurring it.
Yeah, exactly.
when did you realize that you were actually going to be a working musician, a working bass player, and that this would be your career? That this is something that you would do? Like when did you realize that? Was there something that it had just happened overnight where it just kind of clicked, or
I think
it was a process?
It just kind of was a process. The more I played, the more I wanted to play and whatever. But I did find that there were certain times over the years where I did step back and took a little break, took a year off here, took 6 months off there, just because even back then I was working quite a bit, and I got a little burnt every now and then. So
was it the kind of thing like The Godfather where they say when they try to take you, they bring you right back in.
Yeah,
bring
it was kind of
right back in.
I mean, his phone was ringing in 5 different directions 5 times a day.
Yeah.
So you'd always see his gigs posted all over the place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so
it's true.
Now talk about how you've worked 193 gigs in 2023. I mean, that sounds like it's like touring hell in a lot of ways. But it's like how'd you handle that?
First of all, I have a very patient wife, very patient and loving wife who has no problem with any of that with me. Thank goodness. Wow. She's a lot of the gigs.
Big shout out to your wife.
Support is everything.
Support is huge. Okay, great.
Yeah, and I mean, when we got married, she knew I was a musician. She knew I was a busy musician. She knew that was, just kind of part of the package, and it was good that way. The biggest, I guess, challenge as far as doing all those gigs is keeping them straight, because it did include 5 or 6 different bands that I work with. So I have all these Excel spreadsheets which show I go with this band on this night and this over here, and I can take this because it's an afternoon gig, but I have to be done by so much so that I can go and do the night gig later on.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
So you were really organized. I mean, that's
I try to be.
Yeah, when you hear a musician, the last thing that comes to mind is organization. We tend to be we're artists.
Mike's a high road guy. Mike's a high road guy.
It's the only way it could work. It's the only way it would work. That's the thing. If I was playing with one band all the time and here was the set schedule, I probably wouldn't have to be as, on top of it as that. But being that, I'm juggling schedules to accommodate and working with so many different bands, it was the only way to make it work.
Wow. That's honestly, I commend you for it. And
thank you.
Again, speaking of support, the one thing that a lot of musicians don't really think about, you'll find a lot of them are either single, and if the ones that are married, there's always that story of like, well, you're not home enough. That's the big thing. The actually one of our guests, Yuka Tadano, plays bass for the Neil Diamond play.
Beautiful noise.
Beautiful noise.
Yeah.
So that whole thing was basically about his history of how this guy was never home, and he's always wanted to be on the road. His wife truly loved him, but he loved the road more. Even after having all this money, he still wanted to be on the road. Like that was his thing. He's like, well, I have money, I have fame. And the wife is like, what are you doing? And he's like, that's great, but I just love the road more than I love you. It's like, and that's kind of a scary thing. Yeah, like but that makes for a good story, unfortunately. But I'm sure that doesn't apply in your life. So your wife,
was the Jazz Singer movie.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Yep. So, does she ever go to any of your shows?
Yes, she does. She doesn't come to a lot of them because she's seen the different bands so many times and whatever.
Sure.
So it's not something novel or new. And a lot of the shows that I play, I may be going down to the Jersey Shore and stuff, and it's like kind of 2.5 hours each way to the gig, and it's like got to get there for load in, sound check, and everything. By the time we pack up and get home, you're investing 8-9 hours, whatever it may be, and she'll say, no, thanks. I'm going to stay home and watch Hallmark with the cats. I'm good.
Watch Hallmark.
That's another thing is cats. Cats are a major theme of bass players. We haven't really run into bass players that don't have cats.
Yeah, we've got a couple.
Okay, but you're not a crazy cat person yet.
Not
Think
yet.
about it like this. I've noticed that, as we discussed earlier, the idea of having many bases, as long as you don't have as many cats as you do bases, then you're okay mentally.
Yeah,
Fine.
I've got
Like
10
you
bases.
can,
I have 10 base. I have 10 bases right now, and only 2 cats.
okay.
So that's a
That's a
good
good. That's
proportion.
yeah. That ratio is good. That proportion is good. Because once you get into the 10 bases and like 12 cats, then like
Yeah,
I have to press the button and go, all right, Mike, we need to send over some guy from some
yeah,
psychiatric
yeah,
evaluation
Animal
is needed here.
control.
yeah.
Yes.
Intervention time.
Awesome.
Yeah, no, we
Now, how long have you been
Mike's,
doing this for? I mean, I don't want to go into your. I'm not going to ask you your age, but how long have you been doing this for?
Oh, I don't mind saying I'm 71.
You're 71. God bless
Yeah.
you, man. You're still here.
oh,
That's
by
awesome,
the
dude.
way, Mike is on 0 medication.
Are you serious, dude? Another
Serious.
round of applause for Mike, man.
Yeah,
Mike
no.
Guaragna, you like
I learned that in the pre-interview.
Oh, dude, that
I
is
could
awesome.
I could shed a few pounds, for my own, but
Okay.
yeah, no, I just keep going.
Now
So,
that falls into my next question. Do you find that playing live, playing music keeps you young and keeps you youthful in that sense? Do you feel that at 71 and here you are doing all these gigs, and of course
yeah,
a lot of them, I'm sure, are at night. Do you feel that it keeps you
yep,
youthful?
absolutely,
Awesome.
absolutely.
Okay.
And it even not only from the physical point of view, but also mentally too. I'll be
Sure.
driving down the street, and my wife will get a kick out of it because one of our favorite pastimes is like cruising up in the hills with the convertible top down, and I'm just
Nice.
cranking the music, and it's
Nice.
it's just like blasting, and she's going, you're 71. What
You never
you're
age
acting
out of
like you're
that.
25, but it's like, up here, I guess I still am to some extent.
So,
Yeah,
so
it's
you have
important.
you have your own carpool karaoke going on there.
Something like that.
Awesome,
Oh, it's
dude.
nice.
No,
It's nice just to break away and listen to it as opposed to playing it sometimes.
Yeah.
Yep. But I also like that because I admire guys like you. I really do because I want to, when I'm older,
Hmm.
I want to do the same thing. I really, really do. And then I want to get to the point because I played professionally for a few years, and like anything else, it got to the point where it became a job. Once it felt like it became a job, I wasn't enjoying it anymore. So I was out of the business for about a few years, maybe 5 years, and didn't touch
Hmm.
my instrument. Just kind of was like, man, this is like a job. I'm not enjoying it anymore. And
I've done that. I've been there, that same
oh, have
place.
you? Oh,
Oh,
really?
yeah, a
Okay.
couple of times. Yeah.
How did you
Step
get
back
past? How
for a
did you
year
get
or
past it?
two.
Okay. Like, what did you
The
do?
urge
Like,
to
what was the
play
key
just came
point?
back.
Oh, really?
I,
See,
I always worked during the day.
okay,
I'm retired now, but for a
okay,
lot of years I worked during the day and trying to juggle playing, especially weeknight gigs, and having to be behind a desk the next morning by 6:30, 7 a.m. was rather
whoa,
difficult.
That's true.
Yeah,
whoa, and you're
yeah.
not on any meds, nothing.
No,
Good for you,
there were
bro.
nights when I was playing. There were nights when I was playing late gigs, like down the Jersey Shore during the week, where I would be finished at 1 a.m. Drive, by the time we got paid and loaded out and everything else, be at 2 a.m. and then 2.5 hours ride home. So there were times years ago where I would go directly to my work, and if I could get in the building, go into the building directly from the gig and grab a
Sleep
cat
for
nap.
2 hours.
Yeah, yeah,
Wow. Did you
yeah.
ever?
That got to be
Were you ever?
much.
Were you ever in a position where you slept in the car before you actually went
Oh
to
yeah,
work?
oh yeah,
Oh, wow.
oh yeah.
Now, what did
But
you
you were
do?
there. I mean,
But you were
it's
there.
just
Now, what did you do as
Yeah.
part of your day gig? Like when you were leaving the Jersey Shore, then you're
Mm.
going to your job. You got to be there at 6:30 in the morning. Like I'm assuming you weren't a machine operator. You were,
No, no, no,
there's a
no.
chance.
I was behind a
Okay.
desk for many years. I was in supply chain. I'm a senior
Oh,
buyer
okay.
for high tech things. Working for like military defense contractors and such. So
Oh man,
buying electronic
that's like
components.
you have a
it was
permanent
just when
job when you're
he'd
involved in
show
the
up in the
military.
glitter suit. That That's just the last thing he forgot to do is take off the glitter
Exactly. Yeah.
suit.
Got rid of the platform
Awesome.
shoes on the way in.
Okay. Now, were there any bands that you performed with where you had to wear a uniform or costume of some sort?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm going to bring up one, the Cameos.
That's right. Yeah. The
Okay.
Cameos, New Jersey's favorite oldies group, as they
Oh wow. Okay.
as they yeah. And there was a very strict dress code. We all dressed the same way. We had a lot invested in suits, different outfits, jackets, and whatever. And it was a very, very successful band, terrific oldies band, and it really was a lot of fun. I mean, we would work. You know, we would be playing like places like PNC Art Center and such,
wow.
and yeah, it was good. And then I also worked myself in the oldie circuit, working with Charlie Thomas from the Drifters, and
nice. Okay.
you know, working with the Regents, the Coasters, the Marvelettes,
Okay.
you know, the whole array of those, and some local, some not so local, and
Okay.
yeah.
Did they ever hire you to sing background as well? Like, do you sing background?
Yep. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because I'm a lead singing bassist also.
Oh, congratulations! You were Sting of the Police. You were Get Away from Rush. You are who's the guy that sings The Things You Do for Love? The Things You Do for Love. Because he also plays bass and sings.
I think that's one of the reasons that I've been fortunate enough to get a lot of gigs too, is because you can call on me to get to the gig, and you know, you need me to sing lead, fine. You just need me to sing background, no problem. And I have a good ear for harmonies and such, even if it's a group that I don't work with that often. I'm good. I'm not going to kill you with bad harmonies, that's for sure.
Okay, awesome. Glad to hear that. All right, Greg. Now we have the moment where we do our top 3 favorite basses
Electric
that
basses. We ask
top
you, the guest, to dig deep into your forest, and from third favorite to first favorite, pull out a bass of your choice and tell us about it and why it's so high on your list, considering you have multiple choices. And Mike's got a lot. So,
yeah, I would say probably number 3.
Okay, but you have to bring it on screen.
You have to bring it on camera.
Oh, my 3 favorite bass. Okay, all right. This would be. Hang on. Whoop, there goes one on the floor. My Fender hollow body fretless P bass.
Ooh.
Oh my God, that's gorgeous.
Yeah, it is gorgeous.
Look at that.
Wow. Wow.
Black. It
Beautiful.
uses the black tape wound strings, and the way it's set up, it has
Big Labella fans here.
Thank you.
Big Labella fans.
Lace sensor pickups here.
Okay.
Right, so
I'm a
under
lace
the
sensor
bridge.
guy. I love my lace sensors.
And a very simple control, volume, tone, and what here is a blend control. So you can dial in how much of the front pickup, how much of the piezo you want. And I use that.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I like you.
Fender.
Yep. And they only made it for a few years in the early 90s.
The mid 90s.
Oh wow.
I love it. It's seamless.
Yep.
Yes.
And the other thing about it is
on the fly.
Yeah, and the other thing is that I play upright, so I gig on upright quite a bit too. And
really?
yeah, so there's a lot of places where physically, you know, it's just you don't have enough room to navigate with an upright.
Sure.
So I bring that with black tape wound strings. I can really emulate that sound quite a bit.
Yeah, it's
okay, great. All right, awesome. All right, your next bass coming up.
Okay,
next is...
this one may be a surprise for you.
I got a feeling I know what he's bringing. Ooh, surprise!
But it is not a Hofner.
Huh?
It is a J. Tercer.
Okay.
And Jay
explain.
Terza, they made these basses initially in the early 1990s, and from what I understand, they got a cease and desist order from
Really?
Hofner on these.
They were that close.
They were
Yeah,
better.
that looks too close.
They were better. They're better. The workmanship is so much better than anything that Hofner was turning out during those times. Better tuning gears, etc. The bridge, the tailpiece, and the pickups. Unbelievable. Stacked dual coils. So they still have the sound of the old single coil that the Hofners had. Have so much more gain. It's almost this bass is not active, yet it is as loud output wise as any active basses. They're just unbelievable.
Honestly, it looks sturdier than the Hofner.
It really
It
is. It's a slightly
it's a sturdy
heavier,
instrument.
and it's beautifully built. I mean, what you can hear, just the finish and everything else is just unbelievable. And just as a test, I've had this bass since 1993, 94, something like that, maybe a little bit later. I've adjusted the neck once.
Nice.
Whoa.
Nice.
Just one time.
One time when I first set it up.
Wow.
And that's it. I use Labella Deep Talk and Bass flat sound.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Greg
it's
is
the
a
same
big
scale.
Labella guy.
It's a short scale as well.
Yep. Yes, it is. It's short scale and very easy to play. Very similar to my, as you can see in the background, my Dan Electro.
Yes.
My Dan Electro.
I think you put that in our Facebook page.
That's in the
picture.
photograph.
Yep.
Yep. No, it's funny, man. I used to crap in those. I used to crap in them all the time. And then my friend, I shot my friend's wedding, and the bass player there had a Dan Electro. I played it. He said, "Hey man, I need you to play one song for me." So I ended up playing. Carl, I think I played Santana's. Not Oye Como Va. Oh, actually, no, it was Oye
Black
Como Va.
Magic Woman.
Played
they go together.
I played. Yep, I played that one, that Black Magic Woman, and I played the bass player's Dan Electro, and I fell in love with it.
Oh yeah.
I fell in love with the actual neck, the feel of it. I was like, this thing feels really good. It was light.
They really.
I used to think they were light but crappy. This felt light and sturdy. Yeah, that was a difference.
Mine is very sturdy.
Nice.
This thing is so dependable. I use it quite a bit, and it's so dependable that I can go from gig to gig, and I'll take it out of the case and it's in tune. Nice. It's still in tune. Oh,
wow.
After sitting in my car for like 2 days. Yeah, it's ridiculous. I tune it once a night. Once a night. That's it.
Wow.
That's it.
That's great. That is a rarity.
The next question I'd like to ask is your
I didn't show you my number one.
Oh, well, I thought we were talking about that. Please, let's see.
No.
Ladies,
ready?
Drum roll.
Drum roll is number one.
Number one bass. And the Guaragna choice bases is going to be. Oh, he brought
1972 Rickenbacker 4001.
Wow. Hell, man, we need to get you
lead call.
Chris Meyer.
Chris Meyer. Wow.
Yeah. First thing I see when I saw your bass, in my head I hear that's
we can
it.
Gorgeous.
Yeah, I got that in 1972. I don't use it out as much as I used to. I kind of equate it like old classic car, where you take it out on weekends, you drive it nice and easy. It's not for your everyday commute.
No.
So,
but now, if I can ask, who were the early influences on hearing, all the pop songs coming out of the '60s? We know the Beatles, of course, but there was a real big breakout in tone and in music styles in the '60s, and a lot of it was dictated by tones on the electric bass. And if you have any favorite players or songs that we would Like to hear about it.
I've always leaned, except for the Rickenbacker, which is kind of in its own separate thing. I've always kind of leaned and still do to the old school style of sound.
Okay.
I have nothing but 4-string basses. I don't use any 5-string, and the only basses that have round wound strings are my Rickenbacker and that Ibanez that you see right there. That's the round hole acoustic. All my other basses are flat wound. So you know, I'm even with the McCartney influence, the other British Invasion people, but Jamerson, Carol Kay, Joe Osborne, Bob Bobbitt, you know, and I still lean that way. I don't use any pedals. I don't use any active. I don't use anything like that.
Traditional.
Cable amp. That's
so you're
it.
straight from bass, cable, amplifier. That's it. You're not.
That's it.
No fancy effects.
No, back in the day when I was using the Rickenbacker a lot, I was in progressive rock bands, and I really overdid it back in those days. Like I used to run it in stereo, so my front pickup I ran through an SVT with 2 bottoms just for the front pickup, and then the back pickup I had a Sun 100S guitar amplifier which had a 15 and a horn, and an auxiliary cabinet with 2 15s in it. And I used to run effects like chorus and flangers and stuff
the
like
Rick
that.
has 2 outs, right, for that?
It's a stereo. Has a regular mono out, but it also has the stereo out. So I used to split it and run it that way. And even with all that amplification, didn't think I was loud enough.
Well, you know, one of the things we hear is how much power the bass has in the setup, especially in a live situation where today you hear about that not happening so much, where people are using the in-ear buds and they're relying on the PA systems at a lot of these shows. Do you come across that ever, or?
I don't like the in-ear buds. To me, it detaches me too much from what's going on stage. I want to hear live. I'm you know, and if I got a good sound man, I can hear my monitor in front of me just fine. Thank you. I'll just leave it at that. You know, as far as the amplification goes on stage, as long as it can fill the stage area and I can hear myself not only coming back to me but my monitor, I can get a little feel of what's going on. I don't need to bring the big stuff anymore, and I really have cut way back on the amount of gear I bring to gigs and the size of my amplifiers.
We talk to players, and you know, depending upon their age and experiences, you know, they literally started with, you know, guitar amps, and as the technology warranted and came in through the, you know, mid 70s into the 80s, that a whole new world of tone processing came into the gear that was available, and how it altered the way people played. You know, was that any did that have any bearing on how you were playing and what you were playing?
Yeah, I think when you play appropriate to whatever, you know, whatever genre you're playing in, and if it calls for different styles of playing, obviously it's going to call for different styles of sound as well. But you know, I try to be as adaptable as possible.
You know, because we were just talking to somebody talking about being a big John Entwistle fan, and you know, to be a big John Entwistle fan, you got to really open up the door to the idea that there wasn't really much bass amplification, that it was being designed as he was going to his next gig, and you know, it didn't matter whether he had a wall of amps or not. There still wasn't that frequency response on those low strings that you would have today out of a normal practice amp.
Right, yeah. But what we did to try to substitute for that was just add more. So, you know, and that, like, i.e., what I was saying about using the 2 SVTs just for my front pickup. It's like, I didn't really need to do that, but I did.
That sounds like,
boy, that was honestly, a lot of low end.
That sounds like total sonic beauty. Just the way you're describing that. It really,
Oh
really
yeah, I
does.
mean, you can
was,
go anywhere.
Yeah, but the beauty
Not one SVT.
quickly dissipated when we had to start loading it out at night, putting it in the van. Those
Well,
things
that's
were
the part
heavy
that
as well.
sucks. Yeah, you
Yeah.
need. I was always like Greg and I, as we discussed on the podcast. I said that Ampeg should offer a free 1 year chiropractic visit after every gig, a
Credit.
free one, because yeah, you just need to because the thing weighs so much. And look, I think at some point we've all known Ampegs. I remember doing a gig where I had a friend of mine. His wife was from the Midwest, and she carried that out wearing heels. And I was like, I need to have you on my crew all the time. I mean, just she's like, oh, this is not really that heavy. But then she was a farm girl, so she kind of took it.
Wow.
And,
Oh yeah. Well, let's.
yep, just hold it into the car. But I was very happy to get a lighter amplifier after that. So, what are you currently using at this point when you play?
Most of the time, I have a couple of Hartke amps that I use. I'm friends with Larry, and I love his amplification. I have Big Gun. I have the LH 1000 head over there with the with the bottom. You get the 410 bottom and the 15, so I can use it as a stack. But I haven't used it that way in so long. What I've been using primarily is I have two of his kickback amps.
Kickback. I'm a kickback user.
Nice.
Love you, Larry.
The KB15 that I use, it's the newer version with the neodymium speaker in it. It's light.
Okay.
It sounds amazing. 500 watts, and it's like, if you need me louder than this, then you better amplify me. You better put me through the.
Wow.
It's got a direct line.
For the smaller ones, I have the smaller version, old style of the KB12, and this is before Neo, and it's only 100. It's only 120 watts, but you wouldn't believe how this thing sounds.
You never know it.
You'd never know it.
Fill up
and if I can get away with using that, I use it.
Wow. Yeah. That's pretty awesome, dude. So, in reference to your sound, what are you listening to now? Do you ever listen to music without going bass? Do you find yourself always going towards the bass, or do you listen to music for pleasure? Because look, guys, I know that as musicians, we always do that. Is there anything that you listen to where you're not worried about that?
I sure try, but it always seems to come back to either that or the harmonies and how the production is layered. Those are the two things. And my wife kids me. She goes, "You can't just sit back and listen to a song, can you? You're always dissecting it." And I guess I always do, and I probably always will. Just the way it is.
I think as musicians, we naturally do that. Like it's especially if you're constantly on your instrument. It's almost as if you can't get away from it. Like it's true. Yeah, I get so upset at myself because there's times where I have to, especially if I hear a new song from someone that I like or a new artist. Right away, I'll go into composition, but usually within the first 30 seconds, I'm listening to the bass line, and then I'm kind of stuck there for a while, and then I have to listen. I have to start it over again, and then listen to it and try to listen just to hear the song as a whole, the composition. Because
for me, it's similar to sports where you can watch a play develop, and if you're depending upon the sport and how deep you are into it, that you can see where all the other players are anticipating where all the moves are happening, just like in basketball. In baseball, everyone just stands there. But in basketball or football, once a play is called and it's in action, you can see it develop. And the beauty of it developing is what separates, these different teams and how they execute, a method of success. That's just
true.
Me.
Yeah, no, it's certainly understandable. Yeah.
Yep. Are there any players that you hear now? I'm sorry, Greg, for interrupting. Are there any players that you hear now that up and coming young guys that you hear that could be potential future legends that you hear and go, "Oh my God, this guy sounds really awesome," or you hear them and go, "They're playing too much and they're not playing to support the song or support the singer or support the group as a whole"? Like, give me your opinion as a bass player that way.
I think I probably fall into that, and maybe it's a trap, because to be honest with you, I don't care for a lot of the music itself that is kind of being jammed down our throats. So it's very hard for me to say, well, I don't really care for this song, but I love the bass line. Sometimes, I'm sure that would be the case.
Sure.
I find too, I belong to a couple of different groups on social media where they talk about gear and this and that and the other thing. And it just seems like a lot of the younger guys are so hung up on more of the gimmicky kind of things. And it's like, where I need this and the compression and this, and it's like
the foot pedal era.
Yeah, and it's like,
yes,
listen to the kick drum, lock in with that, and let's start from there and start building, please.
The case in point I'll give you is that there's a very popular reel, because there's no more songs now, there's just reels, and it's this young kid, and he is ripping note for note, mimic for mimic this old sax solo. I wish I knew the guy's name. Charlie Parker. There you go.
Okay. Charlie Parker.
He's playing a mega Charlie Parker, and Charlie Parker is on 13 on the volume scale. It's emotional. It's ripping. It's just dynamic. It's just energetic. And there's this kid on the bass, and he's going, and I watch what other people are responding to it, and the response is, "Oh my God, do you hear this? Isn't this like the next thing?" And the only thing I was wishing was he was playing a bass part to complement it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
because that's the key of playing bass, is to support other players. One of the reasons why I'm a huge Marcus Miller fan, while Marcus Miller is probably the slap king, that there's nobody is taking down Marcus Miller on stage against Marcus Miller. But when you hear him play with Herbie Hancock and with other ensembles and other arrangements, what you catch is he develops energies and tones out of other players that you would really never hear if they were alone or without him, that he's able to motivate everybody around him. And to me, that's the biggest part of playing bass. It isn't being whether you can grab the ball and run for the goal line. It's whether you're going to bust that line open so that other players can be, expressive.
Yep. One thing I always liked when you go back to, more or less that kind of a player, listening to Larry Graham now in retrospect. All right, basically, he just started the ball running with that. And I used to love listening to Graham Central Station. Oh my God, I played that album until I played that 8-track till it wore out. But one thing that a lot of people forget is that Larry didn't slap and pop constantly. He knew when to augment it, and when to develop and go right into playing these great lines that were just terrific bass lines, and then accent with the slap and pop and things like that. And it's like, this, and what he did was appropriate for the songs, not making the song follow the bass. No. He played what was supposed to be played in those things. And it was like, it's beautiful. You listen to early stuff of Verdine White. I was watching a video today of some very early Earth, Wind and Fire stuff, live concert outdoors in California in the middle of the afternoon.
It's a great video.
And you could hear how raw they were, and the B3 is like cranking through the Leslie and distorting it and everything is and Verdine takes a bass solo, didn't slap or pop once, just all fingers. Beautiful type of stuff. Very much like Francis Rocco from Tower of Power,
Rocco Prescia.
One of my favorite. And it was like whatever accenting he did, it was just kind of put in here and there to make a statement, and it's like boom. Then he pop out. It's like, ooh, who was that masked man? Just kind of the thing was great.
He's I guess the comment to be is these guys, they stay in their lane.
Yeah.
Yes.
And there's a lot to be said for that, because today you got to compete with all the harmonies and tones of these electrically altered instruments, and we're going to include the bass in that, because now you got discussion groups on how many pedals are going into your bass tone, and my answer up until about 2 years ago was none.
Yeah.
None. You just plug straight in. Although I became I jumped on the wagon, and I got me a pedal that I use. I use an MXR phaser. That
I used to have one of those little orange ones.
Yes.
Yes.
I had one of
Phasers are
yeah.
awesome.
Oh my God! And what it did for me is it gave me this tone that was like an oral wave, and it kind of blended in to the style of music that I was playing, and I ended up using it on my acoustic guitar gigs as well. But it delivered this where an electric bass can give you a straight thud, but a lot of times that if it has this little bit of a wave underneath, everybody seems to get into it. And it was just a lot of fun for me. And then if you went up high or you were accenting on it, it always gave you this little high. Your phaser's here, kind of. I mean, and now they have whole pedals that are like reacting wah-wahs and envelope filters, and I mean, the guys that made that big, like Bootsy Collins, they were definitely signature parts of their tone. The one thing I'd always want to try, that whether you find an old one or a new one, is the Mutron 3.
Oh, I remember those.
Is a very significant, that when it was invented, there were only 8 players that had one. That included Stevie Wonder, Bootsy Collins, George Duke. I think Richard T had one, of all people, and it was Jerry Garcia was one of the first users of the Mutron 3. And it really crossed genres by developing this unique wave.
All right, cool. All right, Mike, I need to actually end this session. So what would you, this is literally the last question, what would you tell aspiring musicians, anyone who wants to come up in the ranks and they want to actually play professionally, what do you feel are the tools that they need for success?
First of all, I would say number one, got to be leave your ego at the door. Just do what you need to do to be part of the whole. If you're joining a band or you're starting a band, know where you fit in the bigger picture, and it will make your life so much easier as you're dealing with other musicians, because I think everybody knows that when bands break up and that sort of thing, more often it's more about personalities and people getting oversensitized and whatever, than the music itself fading. And you've got to be able to deal with these people, because they are your partners. You're in this together. And if you go in there with the right head,
if you're married, yeah,
it really is. Yeah, like it or not, it is what it is. And I think when you have that kind of harmony between the different people that you're on stage with, if you know your instrument and you know what you're doing, it's going to come out. And just enjoy the time that you have to do this, because somewhere along the line you're not going to be able to do that, or your favorite band that you play with is going to break up. So enjoy it, embrace it, and look towards it as the good thing that it really is. I think that's what you have to do. I mean, there's different bands that I work with now. Some of them gel more than others, but I try to go in there approaching it that every gig is a fresh start, and hopefully it's going to be just absolutely fabulous, and the people are going to love us, and the venue people are going to love you, and so I just try to keep it positive, and if you do that, it just kind of makes for a happy marriage, and it makes your playing experience a lot better.
Words of wisdom for Mike Guaragna, like lasagna.
Mike, thank you very
Thank you
much.
guys
for
for
coming
having
up.
me. Much
I had a lot
appreciated.
of fun.
This is awesome. We had a lot of fun, and as you can tell, Greg and I can't stop talking about the bass.
We do
Yeah,
this.
so.
We do this on the phone after the show ends for hours on end.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, no. It's a big passion, and with Anthony's skills and my gift of gab, we keep pushing it down the field, and there's always something new and exciting to talk about, whether it's old or new. And now that we're speaking to other players and we get other perspectives, we're definitely not wrong about what we were considering, bringing this on and creating the case for bass.